work. Another day, another topic. The topic for today will be overloading the increment and decrement operator. Yesterday, I just relearned the member function of friends that you can overload with the member function. You can overload actually with the friend function, and what the difference is in when you should use the friend function, when you should use the member function instead. So today we're gonna hop into the topic overloading the increment and decrement operator, and after that we're going into some programming, and I'm not gonna call it again CSV file parser because I got yesterday a little bit flamed because it's not a parser, but by definition, but it's, yeah, I hope you get it, right? So let's start. Overloading the increment and decrement operators. Overloading the increment plus plus and the decrement minus minus operator is pretty straightforward with one small exception. There are actually two versions of the increment and decrement operators. A prefix increment and decrement, for example, plus plus x and minus minus y. And the postfix increment and decrement, for example, x plus plus and y minus minus. By the way, I know I started with this kind of topic yesterday, but I was not able to finish it because I have to redo the topic friend function and member function overloading, and what actually the difference is between both of them. So, and today I hope we can complete this topic, because the increment and decrement operators are both unary operators. Okay, where's unary operators? And they modify their operands. They are best overloaded as member function. We will tackle the prefix version first because they are the most straightforward. Overloading prefix and increment decrement. Prefix increment and decrement are overloaded exactly the same as any normal unary operator. We will do this one by example. So we can see there's nothing special here. We have include our IO stream, input output stream, by the way, if you don't know. Then we have the class digit, then we have private. I don't know, still don't know why. Is it a new method that we have private now here first or something? Then we have public, then we have our constructor here, and nothing special. We initialize it with this kind of method, right? Instead of inside is it? No, it's not angle brackets, inside the brackets, right? Then here we have our digit operator. So wait a second. This is like, are we gonna we're gonna do it with the We're gonna do it with the friend. Why we gonna do it with the friend? So we can say by the definition, kinda, if you have something on the left side. So we have the stud_o stream, right? We can't change it. So it's kinda read only. So that's why we have to use friends. So if you want to change the object, then you have to use the member overloading. Please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. Also, like the stud_o stream is defined this way, that you can't modify it. So you have to use friend in this case. Then we have stud_o stream out const digit reference D, and that's it. Nothing special here. You can see it. Here we're going to define all this overloading, what's going to actually happen here, right? So we have digit operator plus plus. Wait a minute. Because here we have not a friend overloading. Here we have a member overloading, right? Am I correct here? Why am I confused here? Okay, let's keep reading. Let's keep reading. If our member is already at 9, wrap around to 0. Okay, otherwise just increment to next number. Else plus plus. Oh, I like it that they have the plus plus before. M underscore digit. Return this. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna return the object. So then we're gonna define all the thing also for the operating thing for the minus minus. If our number is already at 0, wrap around to 9. So if we have 9, wrap around to, what does wrap means even? So I guess it's like let's see, m digit is equal 0. It's just going to say it's like then 0, right? Let me look it up, guys, because you know I'm also learning English. So what rep mean? Rep. We can. Okay. What? Hille? Maybe some of you can just. I'm not getting it. So what you're gonna do if it's like m digits is equal 0, right? Then we say m digit is 9. If a number is already at 9, wrap around to 9. So we just gonna say with this kind of if statement, if the digit will be 0, equal 0, then please change it to 9. And that's what we're doing. Otherwise, we're just saying minus digit. So we're going to this one here, right then? And then we're just gonna return the object. So we have std outstream reference operator, and we're gonna define it here. And then we say, oh wait, this is another one. Yeah, so we have else plus m digit. So if we not have the case, if it's 9, then we're just counting it up. If it's 9, we're gonna say m digit is 0. And then we're just gonna return the object. With this operator, we're gonna say if it's equal 0, then please make or change m digit or wrap m digit to 9. Otherwise, we just increment minus. Are we gonna call it again then? Probably, right? Interesting. And we're returning this. Okay. This is nothing special here. We use this as for the friend function, so we can use this operator later on for our definition. So then we have int main digit. So we're gonna initialize it with 8. And we're gonna initialize this with 8. So we're gonna say m digit is 8, right? So m digit is 8. And if you're doing something with m digit, let's see, if you've stood C out, and then we have this definition, and then we say digit, right? What is going to happen if we have that one? We're just going to print it out properly. And if we're saying plus digit, we're going to use this defined operator, because we have like operator overloading here. And then we're going to have this method. So we're going to start with 8, correct? And 8 is not equal 9. And then we're going to just say else plus m underscore digit. That's what we're going to do. So we are going to count it up, right? So then it will be 9, if I'm correct. Then it will be 9, and then, okay, just reset it to 0 then here. Wrap it to 0. And then just return it. Return this, yeah. Interesting. Okay. So, let's see. Our digit class holds a number between 0 and 9. We have overloaded an increment and decrement, so they decrement the digit. Wrapping around if the digit is decremented out of range. This example prints 890. Yeah, 98. Yeah, pretty nice. That makes sense, right? I said we start by 8, then it will be 9, then it will be resetted to 0. Then we starting by... We are at 0, correct? We are at 0. So if we have 0, if you're using this digit now, if you have 0, we're just going to set m underscore digit equal to 9. So and that's what's going to happen, right? Because we're going to just print it out. So it will be 9. And then we're going to just return it. Return this. And then we're going to call this operator again. And we not have this case, so m underscore digit is not equal 0. So therefore, we're ending up with this one. So we decrease it by 1. So we're going to end up with then 8. So that's the reason why we're going to have 89098. Please correct me if I'm saying something wrong. Note that the overloaded increment and decrement operator returns the current implicit object, so multiple operators can be chained together. So note that we return this. The overloaded increment and the decrement operators return the current implicit object. What is again an implicit object, and what is an implicit object and an explicit object? Do you know, guys? What is an implicit object? C++. Let's see. We have an implicit function, implicit parameters. What is an explicit object parameter? Oh man. I think this is like a completely new topic, huh? Is it? So I know what the implicit conversion is. Unspecified implicit. Maybe I don't know. I don't know if I should ask ChatGPT about stuff like this, because sometimes it's not correct. You know what I mean? I mean, we could just check, right? We could just check. We could just going open AI and we're gonna check it quick. What is a implicit object in C++? Let's see. It's when an implicit object refers to an object that is automatically created or manipulated by the compiler. Yeah, explicit if we're gonna do it, right? Implicit, the compiler is doing it. Okay, runtime without explicit declaration or the initialization by the programmer. These objects are typically created to assist in a certain language feature of operation. Some common example for this sounds correct, right? This sounds not that wrong. And it makes also sense. Implicit objects. So by decrement operators return to current implicit objects. Multiple operators can be changed together. Let's keep going. Overloading, postfix, increment, and decrement. Normally, function can be overloaded when they have the same name but a different number and or different type of parameters. However, consider the case of the prefix and postfix increment and decrement operators. Both have the same name. For example, operator plus plus are unary. Yeah, we know that plus plus is unary. The unary is kind of if you have only like one input, right? And take one parameter of the same type. So how it's possible to differentiate the two when overloading? The C++ language specification has a special case that provides the answer. The compiler looks to see if the overloaded operator has an int parameter. If the overload operator has an int parameter, the operator is a postfix overload. If the overload operator has no parameter, the operator is a prefix overload. I think I have to just read this again. If the overloaded operator has an int parameter, okay, the operator is a postfixed overload. If the overloaded operator has no parameter, the operator is a prefix. So we have a prefix and postfix. So we will have always a postfix if we have, for example, an int parameter. Interesting. And it will be prefix. It will be prefix if we have no parameter. Here's the above digit class with both prefix and postfix overloads. Okay, let's see. Class digit, private integer m underscore digit. So we have that one, and then we have public digit. Digit is equal 0, and then we're just gonna initialize it, right? Wait, this is just our input, right? Oh, this is our default input, right? Is it? That was a default input, correct? Probably. So let's keep going. Then we have digit, reference operator plus plus, prefix has no parameter. Digit operator minus minus, prefix has no parameter. So it will be always like prefix because it has no parameter. Parameter. So and postfix is if we're gonna have a parameter. This is my favorite word, guys. Word, right? By the way, guys, how was your day? Please let me know. I hope you had like a nice work day or have at least a nice work day.
Parameter.
My favorite word. Parameter. Digit, operator plus plus. So, okay, what is then the what could be then the difference if we have a postfix has an integer parameter? Okay, let's see. We're just gonna keep reading the code. No parameter means this is prefix operator. Okay, if our number is already at 9, wrap around to 0. The same thing. Otherwise, just increment to next number. Okay. Then we have this one. No parameter means this is a prefix operator. So the same, nothing changed. And now it's gonna be interesting. Int parameter means this is a postfix operator. Oh! Create a temporary variable with our current digit. Oh! Oh no! Oh nein, ey. Warum muss das so kompliziert sein? Okay, what is the use case for that? Oh ey, ganz ehrlich, C++, ey, ohne Scheiß, killt mich, ey. Yeah, it's unbelievable, C++. Okay, guys, if we have right now some experienced people here, what is the use case for that? Why you even want something like this? Let me think about it. Why you want something like this? Create a temporary variable with our current digit. So we have digit temp. And then we're just gonna say this. Here we have the statements. Why do we have to do it like this? Use prefix operator to increment this digit. So we're creating a temporary variable with our current digit. Use prefix operator to increment this digit. Apply operator. Return temp. Let me think about this logic. So we still have this 0. The one thing is prefix. The other thing is postfix. And for the postfix, we need like a temporary thing. That makes sense. That's why we have temp this. So we have a digit temp this. So it's the value before. And then we're going to count it up, right? And we're going to say, okay, the value before, we're going to count it up. Apply the operator. Use prefix operator to increment this digit. So we're just going to... we're just going to store a temporary variable from the current digit. And then we're counting it up by 1. And then we're going to return the temporary result. Okay. I got it. It's not that terrible. I got it. But still I'm not getting the use case. So we're doing here the same. Okay, I got it completely, I think. So this are the definitions if it's like postfix. Really interesting. Now we are again into the topic, you remember? Prefix, postfix, increment. Is it actually different? And in C++, you could say yes, because you don't know how the overloading thing is implemented, right? And you can see, we're gonna store something temporary. And this is kind of the proof. Probably in C, it doesn't matter that much because the compiler will just optimize it away. And we had like the talk yesterday, and this is just the proof about this. Right, we're just gonna create a temporary variable. That's what we're gonna do. And then we just decrement it in this case. And here we increment it. Really good for me to know, increment and decrement, right? And then we're just gonna return the temporary thing. Interesting. So you have to define, like, if you wanna overload this, you have to define like all of these for then. Post and prefix. But it does make sense, correct? It does actually make sense. Interesting. Okay. That's cool. So then we have stood output stream, reference operator, and then all the stuff, and then we're gonna same. So now we can say what will be the value, right? If you have something like this. So we have like the digit, and we say we're gonna initialize the digit with 5, and then we're gonna print out 5. What we're gonna print out here, if you're saying plus digits, it's pre-increment, right? Pre-increment. And that means we're getting the value 6, correct? So we have here the value 6. And here we're getting returned the temporary thingy. And the temporary thingy will be what? 6. So we will still get 6. And if you're gonna say stood cout digit here, insertion operator digit, we're getting also 6. No, we're not getting 6. That will be 7, correct? That will be then 7 if you're calling it again. It's only if you're using that one, we're getting 6. Here we're getting 7. Here we're getting 6. Here we're getting 6. What is that? Yeah, and then 5, yeah. Again. 5. 6. 6. 7. 6. 6. 5. Interesting. Actually, you should do something like this in university if you're learning C++ and using this increment stuff. I know it's kind of advanced, but I think it helps you a lot about why it's maybe better to use the pre-increment before the... Is it called the pre-increment? Yeah, it is, right? Prefix and the yeah. Pre-increment, post-increment, right? Yeah. So that's it. That was correct. There are a few interesting things going on here. First, note that we have distinguished the prefix. What does distinguished means? Let me see. Okay. The prefix from the postfix operators by providing an integer dummy parameter on the postfix version. Second, because the dummy parameter is not used in the function implementation. We have not even given it a name. This tells the compiler that treat this variable as an placeholder, which means it won't warn us that we declared a variable but never used it. Third, note that the prefix and postfix operator do the same job. They both increment or decrement the object. The difference between the two is in the value by return. The overloaded prefix operator returns the object after it has been incremented or decremented consequently. Overloading these is fairly straightforward. We simply increment or decrement our member variables and then return this. The postfix operator, on the other hand, needs to return the state of the objects before it is incremented or decremented. This leads to a bit of conundrum. What? Conundrum? Okay. Let me see what this is. Ah.
Conundrum.
Conundrum. I like this word. Conundrum.
Conundrum.
Conundrum. Oh, that's funny. Okay. I learned something new. Conundrum. If we increment or decrement the object, we won't be able to return the state of the object before it was incremented or decremented. On the other hand, if we return the state of the object before we increment or decrement it, the increment or decrement will never be called. The typical way this problem is solved is to use a temporary variable that holds the value of the object before it is incremented or decremented. Then the object itself can be incremented or decremented, and finally the temporary variable is returned to the caller. In this way, the caller receives a copy of the object before it was incremented or decremented, but the object itself is incremented or decremented. Note that this means the return value of the overloaded operator must be a non-reference. Yeah, it would not work, yeah. Because we can't return a reference to a local variable that will be destroyed when the function exists. Yeah. Also note that this means the postfix operator are typically less efficient than the prefix operator because of the added overhead of the instantiation in a temporary variable and returning by value instead of reference. Finally, note that we have written the post-increment and post-decrement in such a way that it calls the pre-increment and pre-decrement to do most of the work. This cuts down and duplicate code and make our class easier to modify in the future. Das ist really nice. Cool. That was a nice topic. That was so cool. I mean, we still have to go through some stuff, right? We have to do overloading the subscribed operator, parenthesis operator, typecast, overloading the assignment operator, shallow versus deep copying, overloading operators and function templates. No, don't tell me you can overload function templates. What? That's such a hardcore topic, man. Chapter 21. Smart pointers, move semantic and smart pointers. I should do the unique pointer, right? Virtual function. Template and classes. Exception needed for exception. Holy moly. C++ is such a long learning journey. I mean... Now my question for what I should use it, right? What we have vector bool now. This is new area loops design. Split, passing, stood vector. A lot of stuff that's kind of new, right? So after I finished learning, I have to... That's okay. Such a long journey here. So I would say we're gonna dive into programming some things. We're gonna redo the thing from yesterday, and we're doing just some operator overloading. And then we're hopping into the CSV file parser thing, what actually is not the not the parser is, right? So programming, boom! Be right back. Give me a second. Need to write code, man. I'm gonna write code, man. So I just want to learn every day a little bit. And sometimes, I'm also write code off stream. So every day, a little bit, something new. But it's not super kind of new, but this was really interesting, right? This we had like this discussion before, pre-increment, post-increment and stuff like this. What is faster, what is not faster. Really, really, really interesting. Let's do some chat talk. For what I'm going to use C++? That's my question at the moment. I'm going to do my CSV thingy, right? Where I'm just going to manipulate from the CSV. I'm just going to call it CSV file manipulation, right? The project, because parser is not correct. Maybe I just should change it. Because it's not by definition a parser, It's not a parser by definition. What we want to do, we want to do something that we will have a client side and the server side. And actually we're getting from the client side the data. And then we're doing the calculation on the server side. And someone said I have to do, if I want to do that one, and it should be secured, I have to do the topic OpenSSL for C++. Yeah, I have to do the networking, correct. And I'm a little bit afraid about this kind of topic. And it seems also, if you're diving deeper and deeper into C++, if you compare it to other languages, it's hard to find some stuff, right? So what you actually, maybe I should check then GitHub, how some other people implementing stuff. There's like no tutorial about how networking is working in C++, for example. Huh? What is more secured if I'm going to use it? HTTPS maybe? I could also do it with a VPN connection, and then I probably could use TCP, right? Because VPN would be more secured, because it's a person-related data. So we're gonna also not store it on the server side. That would be really interesting. And why are we doing that? Because we just want to protect the program. Because it seems like we could otherwise not create like a license or something, because it would be easy hackable. What means easy? But you got my point probably. So for that, what's up? I need like a guidance, right? What I have to achieve to do this networking thing. Maybe I should just try first to create a connection before, like step by step, because I think it will be not that easy. What does the program do? You know the CSV file parser, right? You check the code, correct? I mean, here. Yeah, exactly. And with the CSV file parser, you have a PayPal file. The client will send over the data, or the server will take the data from the client and just gonna manipulate it. So that the process should be then on the server side. My question is what I have to know for this kind of process. Give me a 2 minutes break. I will be right like in a few minutes back, like probably 4 or 5 minutes. I will be back. By the way, if you want to see the code, but the code is not updated yet, but you can just get a clue about the code. Here it is. Should be the code still, but the rows are not correct, so you can't start the program. execute, right, is the correct word. Execute. I'm back. What's up? Are you still here? Mm-hmm. Networking. Oh. 1 second, because this is not working. I can tell you why. So this is not working because this is not correct. The numbers here are not correct. That's the reason why it's not working. So you have to put the correct number for the OC number, and you have to put the correct number for IMS OC. So this is not correct. That's the reason. What is this here? What the fuck? The path will be the same. Like, what do you mean with path? Yeah, what is path PayPal check? Ah, you mean like here in the code? Wow, this is already like 3 months ago, right? Where I coded this thingy. Where's PayPal? Did I have something like path PayPal check? I don't remember. Which line is it? Ah, yeah, this one. Let me think quick. So we have IMS, PayPal, and then pass IMS check. Why is it check? You mean 9? 9? So we have the path, and why we have pass PayPal check? We have even IMF check, right? That's funny, right? I wrote this code like 3 months ago. So is it also for you sometimes like that? You have to check what you actually mean with that. So we have the pass equal pass IMF check. What type is it actually? Let me see. Can we have? There's nothing yet. No networking yet. But I want to implement networking for it. You know what I mean? So we have this PayPal file with this information. For example, this here, right? So the client have IMS and PayPal. So, and PayPal missing some data, and you have to add this kind of data what you're missing to the PayPal via IMS. And IMS stands for Inventory Management System. So the client will have this kind of data, and we do want to do some networking that the server gonna use this kind of data to make this accounting import CSV file. You know what I mean? So I can describe it quick again. Let's have like a black screen so I can draw a little bit. So maybe this is getting more clear. So all the thing was like you have this PayPal how it's called? I need the correct English word. You have this. I don't know how it's called in English. No. Damn it, I don't know. I don't know the entries. Nah, it's not correct. Buchungen. Maybe we're gonna find a better word. Yeah, you have the PayPal balance, right? So you could say that you have like the PayPal balance, and the key thing of about that one is because you want to transfer it later on into the accounting system. So you have like something like here, 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 and then you have an OC number. OC number stands for order number, right? And then you have something here, then you have another OC number, for example. And then you have data, and then you have another OC number, right? So then you have this kind of OC number and this data. And if you would import that in the accounting system, it would not work because you're missing the bill number, right? You're missing the bill number. So you need the bill number. So where are you getting the bill number from, right? So you're missing the bill number and how you can get it. So you can get the bill number from the IMS system, from IMS for the inventory management system, because the inventory management system has also the data from this order numbers, right? So then you can just search. That's why we have the hash map there, and then you can just search. Okay, is this OC number exist in IMS? If yes, right? If this is, for example, existing, you have that one. What is the bill number, right? And then you have something like. So, and then if you have that one, you have to add this here up here, right? And then you can just go through the hash map and adding the data and everything is fine. And then you just modify the CSV file. And you're just gonna create a new CSV file on the client side. It should be like that. And this CSV file you can import into the accounting system. If you only want to passing data around, then I guess TCP. Okay, is it secure TCP, by the way? So if you compare TCP with HTTPS, what is better? Like, why is what kind of cases is HTTPS better? You can have TLS on top. HTTPS is TLS on top of HTTPS. Okay. But on the server side, it would be really important that I'm not going to store this data, you know? Is this possible? I have to store it temporarily, right? I mean, if I'm creating a vector and storing the data inside there, it's temporarily stored, correct? At least. Or am I incorrect here? I think we're gonna on the server, yeah, on the server, because you have server and client, right? Server side, client side, and the client have all the data, and the server is just for the calculation stuff like this. To create a new file that you can later use for import it into the accounting system. Yeah, sensitive. It's would be sensitive information, correct? My question is, would be a VPN connection more secured? Yeah, if I'm using TCP, do I need like do I need then VPN? Probably, right? Or am I missing something up? Maybe I should get into the topic a little bit if I'm just watching networking in C++, like C++ networking. That I'm getting just a basic understanding how stuff is working, right?
You said it was good. You said you loved it, but it's over. And now you want to connect to other computers. What use is the world if we're not connected? So many quotes, so many great quotes. So how do you write programs in C++ that are capable of communicating with the outside world, communicating?
Maybe I should try to make first a chat, huh? Would be that easier?
With other computers on your local network. How does one learn the art of that? Well, you've certainly picked like the best language for the job. I mean, C++'s library has everything, including... Oh, there's no built-in networking?
Don't tell me I have to write everything by from scratch or what? Oh my goodness. Okay, I it seems it will be a challenge, huh? I mean,
I don't know why I decided to treat this video like a TV show, I'm sorry. But yeah, it's true, like C++ has no built-in networking at all. You have to use the operating system APIs, like the Win32 API, for example, if you want to use
oh god, nein!
sockets and any other things that let you communicate with devices. Every other language, you know, like, I don't know, like C#, Java, Python, they all kind of have, you know, that built in. But sure, you know, C++, UBU, never change C++. Do people say that? Anyway, I'll stop. Just in a joking mood today. So first of all, let's kind of talk about what I mean by like networking in C++. Like, what does that mean? Basically, what I'm talking about is using sockets. Now, these sockets can be used to transport data from one place to another. And it could be as simple as like, even on the same computer, you know, you could open up a socket that can receive data and you can send it like from that same kind of computer. That's called like a loopback. You could also communicate to another computer on your local network. So that doesn't involve the use of something called a wide area network or a WAN. It's just kind of on the LAN, the local area network.
Oh, that's actually cool. If I have like this local value, I could do it just locally and connect via VPN, and that would be really secured, right? I mean, should be secured.
And in terms of like networking hardware, you could just have like a switch, or I mean, you could even use one of those Ethernet cables I remember we had back in the day. It's like, instead of being like, what's it called? You know, they were like red or something? Ah, here we go.
No, the VPN provider can see you. What? So VPN is not secured? So you have in between someone if you're using a VPN. Huh? Maybe I'm not understood how actually VPN is working. But so a VPN is not secured or what? What is it? Do you need for a VPN connection provider? Well, let me see. What is a VPN provider? VPN provider. I mean, you're not needing... No. I'm not meaning something like that. I mean, if you're creating the VPN environment by yourself and you can just connect outside, for example, if you're using a Fritzbox or something, right? You can just implement like a VPN via your Fritzbox. And you could connect from outside into your Fritzbox, into your network. So you should not have like a VPN provider in between, correct? Or am I wrong? Am I missing something? Or there are also some free tools where you can just create your own VPN. So that should be safe, kinda, right? Or am I wrong? Please let me know.
A crossover cable, that's what it's called, an Ethernet crossover cable. Oh man, that just brings me back to like high school when we want to play like, you know, a LAN game, but they'd block it or something in the firewall in the local network, I guess at school, and so we had to like, people tried to like treat this video like a TV show, I'm sorry. But yeah, honestly, it's gonna be...
First you have a B connection. Let's say you connect to google.com. Yeah. But you have also some on the route to google.com. You have also some server in between, correct?
I mean, more than two things. It's going to be like one thing acting as the server, and then all these clients, as many as you want, really, limited by, I guess, hardware, connect.
I thought that the tracing, then you will gonna have server in between. The trace part, or how it called, there's a name, like, what was it, like? Tracing, or like, I don't know. Server. Okay. What is the correct name then? They don't serve you, that's so nice.
To that one thing. So a server client kind of architecture, and you can just send whatever you want really between the two in either a reliable way or an unreliable way. So how can we do that in C++? Now, there are a number of networking libraries in C++, and I guess drawing from kind of like the time that I made the best way to make desktop applications in C++ video, which I'll link up there.
They are hops. I'm not sure what they called, okay.
By the way, I don't want to use libraries like Qt or Qt. I don't, like, there's this other thing called ASIO, which to me just like reminds me of the audio driver, to
I remember back then.
be completely honest. But there's Boost, ASIO, like anything with Boost in it. Like I don't want to do that, you know? You feel me? That's just my vibe.
Why you don't want to? Why you don't want to use other libraries? Because you just want to learn it, or what is the reason for it? Is there really a reason why you should rewrite everything by your own? If your connection is a plain text, anyone can but if you, I thought if you have using a VPN connection, it's like encrypted, right? Decrypted, right? Wait, what was encrypt? Encrypt was... If I'm correct, right? It's encrypted, right? If you're using a VPN connection. Or am I wrong?
I guess that's just who I am. And speaking of who I am, I mean, I'm a game engine programmer. Like, I make game engines and I like making games. So that's kind of the world I live.
You heard he said the best way to, you know, he gonna promote his way and stuff.
In. So that's what I'm going to base my recommendations on. That's what we're going to kind of do today. We're going to use something that's going to be compatible with, you know, a game engine and how you do things in a game engine, much like that desktop applications in C++ video, because you've come to my channel, you've come to my world. So the library that we're going to use is actually by Valve software, you know, like Steam, Half-Life.
Oh, okay.
Counter-Strike. Team Fortress, I don't know, what are they doing these days? Just making money from the Steam commissions, I guess, the Steam cut. They have a library called Game Networking Sockets. Here it is on GitHub. It says failing, but it's actually a good library.
Yeah, that brings me nothing, the video then. Client server asks you framework basics. This guy is pretty good. I'm gonna check it. Encrypt doesn't make a connection secure. So if I'm gonna use a VPN to like a private network, it's not secured or what? If I'm using it via the over the Fritzbox. I mean, a lot of companies are using VPN connections, right? Or am I wrong?
Be sure to contact me about on-site training options. Now, in this episode, I want to discuss where to go from here. We didn't get networking in C++20 or C++23, and, well, there's no telling what's going to happen for C++26. So what should we do about that? I just wanted to make sure that you're aware that every...
Do you have maybe a good book for me, like that I could order or something about the topic networking? Because I'm feeling that sometimes if you want to dig deep a little bit, it's hard to find good content for C++. You know what I mean?
Every single video description has links to upcoming events, important information about this particular video, how to buy any of my puzzle books or my best practices book, how to hire me for training, how to become a patron, how to support this channel in general, and of course you can now become a member of this channel on YouTube if you're make your a little bit different from others. I'm not really planning to show any live code or anything like that. I really just kind of want to prove a point. And that point for today is package managers. In no particular order, because I don't remember what order I opened these tabs in, we have Conan, and we have Hunter, and we have VC package. This is an...
That's actually really interesting. You can use a VC package for... what is the name? Virtual Studio, right? A Visual Studio, sorry, not Virtual Studio. You can use like this, it's implemented, if I'm correct, VCP package manager for Visual Studio. But there is a bug. So if you're gonna, you have a JSON, is it called JSON? JSON file. And you could put everything what you want to have for your project inside this JSON file, right? And then all these libraries will get imported automatically. But listen, it's not gonna work. Do you know why it's not gonna work? It took me some while to figure it out, but it seems like that everything is gonna get imported like for a 32-bit system instead of a 64-bit system. And there's a way to change it. I saved it somewhere at home on my laptop. But I just figured it out, and you can just use the JSON file to import the libraries what do you actually need. It's pretty cool. Try read cryptographic hash algorithms. Symmetric. Boah, how many months I need for that then?
An era in the C++ world where...
You know, I'm getting more and more the feeling if you're... It seems like nothing is safe. You know... If you understand more, you're getting more and more from people that like are good in programming. that like nothing is safe, right? If this just understand what they are, what they do. Okay, they're not gonna save it. Like this is like good lecture for night lecture, right? If you're gonna chill and you want to read just a book or something. If I remember correctly, what's up? You're from Germany, correct?
Where package managers are available. I do recommend that you are using some sort of a package manager with your project. It makes managing dependencies much easier. Now, of course, there is some caveat here in that sometimes you run into problems because the package manager changed something that you weren't expecting and you don't directly control the recipes or the scripts or whatever that are on the remote server that you're using. So, sometimes the package manager gets in your way, but 99% of the time it does what you want it to do. I don't think this is specific to C++. I think this kind of thing happens with a lot of different package management libraries.
Maybe I'm just looking for a book for C++ networking. Maybe there is a book. You think something? C++ networking book or something? They are, perfect. You could just buy some of these. Perfect. Actually, what browser do you use? I'm using Google Chrome. Why are you asking? Networking isn't language specific. Yeah, but how to implement it, I know it's like from the principle, it's not language specific. But how you can implement it with C++. I mean, every language probably using a different library, or you can just implement it completely by your own. But first, probably you have to understand the fundamental principle about the topic. How can you connect to other PC, and so on.
4 different programming languages. So we have package managers. And as you can see from this tweet that I had up earlier, I asked the C++ community, what is your favorite networking library for C++? Well, I got a disturbing number of C responses. I was really aiming for something that, actually took advantage of C++ to give you a higher level.
I have a little problem, guys. Sometimes C++ is kind of complex, right? If you're comparing it to C. So in an embedded system, you're still using a lot of C instead of C++. Is this statement correct? What you're doing then? A friend of mine just told me a lot of people using C++ for security reasons, like for how called. I don't know. What are you gonna do with C++ then? If you're not gonna use it for embedded system? You don't implement cryptographics if you aren't experts. Better use libraries. But if you learn libraries, you aren't sick. Since you so press too much on security, you should check out how information security works. What do you mean you aren't learning security? A friend of mine has moved his company from embedded C to embedded C++, and they have drastically increased productivity. So you have nowadays then more C++ in in the embedded system world. Okay. Makes sense, right? It does make sense. It does make sense. I personally use C++ for games, but you have always like C++, for what you're gonna use it, games. Game engine. Graphic stuff. That's it. That's it. You know, calculations, physics, simulations, something like this. Embedded systems. Keep talking about VPN, then you haven't understand security. No, I just thought it's VPN connection will I think not the VPN connection itself is secured. This stuff what lays on top secures the VPN connection. Is this statement correct? If you're using a VPN client. If no one is in between.
Level library, and well, we have those to talk about. As I've said before, I'm letting you drive where.
So you would say always a VPN provider is in between. Is it always like that? I mean, even if you're using the Fritz box, if you're using your router, now I have to check it. Now maybe I'm VPN connection. Maybe. But, you and the internet via VPN, your data traffic is routed through an encrypted virtual tunnel. This. What do you mean with yes? To what related? So you want to say that my provider could read it or what? So then the VPC would be then my Fritz box, correct? Fritz box? You don't know Fritz box? It's a router. Why you need the VPN? I have no VPN provider. The router just supports VPN connections. So, for example, if you have how it's called open VPN, this one, right? So you have something like this. OpenVPN is a virtual private network system that implement technique to create secure point-to-point or site-to-site connection, a routed or bridged configuration, and remote access facilities. It implements both clients and server applications. I pay no money involved. It's free. This one is not free. But there are free ones. Yeah, no. I'm not, no. I'm not talking about the things, you know, what you can buy, like the VPN connection. You can use OpenVPN if you're not going to use it commercially. But you have to, okay, you have several options to do it. So you have to use the router. So the router have that you can create the stuff via your router. For example, Fritzbox have it, right? So let me show it, like Fritzbox VPN. So you can create it. So you you will not have like a provider in between, right? Or you need your own server and have to manage this thing completely by your own. But it's a little bit more harder, right? So you have to create your own VPN server. Free VPN client. Let's see which one I used. No, this is the paid one. That makes no sense. If you're using some of these, it's in between, right? It makes no sense. Nope. That's not correct. Then you have someone in between that makes no sense. If your connection is plain. What do you mean if your connection is plain? But if I'm using it how I'm using it, it should be secured, right? Because I have no one in between. Ah, what was it? OpenVPN? OpenVPN, yeah. Let's watch quick video about it. Yeah, exactly. You have to create your own VPN server, correct? Or am I wrong?
It's no secret that VPNs are one of the most heavily shilled pieces of technology in current year. You might have even gotten a VPN ad for this video. And it actually makes a little bit of sense why they are so popular, because these days people are actually becoming more concerned with their online privacy. Some people want to avoid being tracked by corporations or their ISP that might try to track all their online activity and then sell that data to ad companies. Other people are concerned about hackers stealing all of the money out of their bank account or leaking embarrassing photos of them online. So what's the best way to deal with this? Usually, this is the part where I would start shilling you a VPN, telling you that they have military-grade encryption and a state-of-the-art data center, and that you can have this security for 20% off if you use my promo code randomeceleb25. But the truth is, 99% of what you've heard about VPNs is total nonsense. It is scare tactics and fear-mongering to get you to buy a product that you don't need.
If your data sent on virus without encryption, anyone... Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Anyone could just connect in between, right? Exactly. That's why you have to encrypt it. I mean, it is then what I did with the Fritzbox with the router. Everything is encrypted, so you're getting like a huge key, right? Then you need a name and everything, right? Otherwise, you would not be able to connect to the Fritzbox.
Need. Most of the connections that you're making to websites are already secure. If you're using HTTPS, if you've got that little lock pad next to the URL, then you are making a secure encrypted connection with that website. Nobody can see your username and password, nobody can see how much money is in your bank account or steal any of it from you, even if you're using some spooky public.
In the past, I just watched a YouTube video about how HTTPS is working.
Airport or cafe Wi-Fi. They could see what websites you're going to, so if you wanted to hide the fact that you're going to Cornhub from your network administrator or your ISP, then you could use a VPN for that. But then you're just shifting.
So your unencrypted data sends to your VPN server, so that's not secure. Yeah, but if I'm encrypting it, right, and I have only the key to encrypt the data, right? What is what is what called? iSpec. What is the name? IPEX. It's encrypted. The data is it's not. It's secured. I'm 100% sure. If you want to connect outside of the Fritzbox, it's secured. Right, I'm gonna show you. Fritzbox. Now it's in German, right? Let's see.
Was es ist, wir können mal gucken, das finden wir generell bei Internet direkt nutzen. Sind hier oben die beiden für einen Benutzer oder für ein Netzwerk. Ich gehe mal auf die Netzwerkverbindung und jetzt werde ich mich nach ein paar Sachen gefragt und das sind jetzt genau die Voraussetzungen, die erfüllt sein müssen. Das Einfache ist hier oben ein Pre-Shared Key.
Ja, you have a Pre-Shared Key.
Das ist jetzt, wie die Verbindung gesichert wird mit einem Kennwort. Nur für den Verbindungsaufbau. Die eigentliche Verschlüsselung wird dynamisch immer wieder neu ausgehandelt, aber nur für den Verbindungsaufbau brauche ich hier ein Kennwort. Das müsst ihr nirgendwo wieder eintragen, das wird nur einmal hier hinterlegt und dann abgefragt. Das heißt, hier nimmt man natürlich...
Yeah, exactly, Pre-Shared Key. Why you keep bringing up this thing box? Are we talking about software engineering and information security? No, I thought you mean the connection what I have like to the Fritzbox, what I'm doing, right? So if you want to connect to a network, you could use, for example, the Fritzbox and connect from whatever place where you are towards the via VPN connection to the Fritzbox. And then you have access to the private network. And I think this connection is kind of secure.
Natürlich irgendwas erreichbar. Das ist immer noch so eingerichtet. Ich finde wunderbar. So finden sich per Copy und Paste zum Beispiel aus dem MyFritz-Konto rausholen. Zweite wichtige, weil dann gibt es halt eine Fehlermeldung. Ansonsten brauche ich die Verbindung nutzen dürfen, kurz beschränken und jawohl und mein Lokal, der Gordon natürlich, einfach mal eingerichtet, wird hergestellt, verbunden. Easy. Ich brauche halt nur das Handy, deswegen ganz wichtig. So.
I don't know how it works, okay. There would be also another solution if you would create your own VPN server with this description stuff and whatever, right? But would be harder. And what is using? Nothing about the... Okay, let's keep watching this.
The burden of trust from your ISP to your VPN company. And a lot of VPN companies are...
Yeah, I'm gonna check. I just already saved it. cryptography, hash algorithm, symmetry, encryption. How long it will take me?
Are pretty shady. Two that stand out to me because of how frequently I've seen them shilled on social media are ExpressVPN and private internet access, both of which are owned by Cape Technologies, which used to go under the name Crossrider. And before that name change, they were involved with propagating a lot of malware.
So you want to tell me that all these VPN guys that giving you the service with the VPN, the VPN server will be on their side. Yeah, okay, makes sense, right? Yeah. Because yeah, it makes absolutely sense. That is like no secured at all then. It makes sense, right? Because they have the key. They can just encrypt the stuff if they want to. I mean, I'm just talking about the connection if you connecting directly to someone and it's encrypted. And yeah. But I'm getting it. You maybe thought that I mean like NordVPN, you know, this... yeah, okay. Got it. Yeah, okay, got it, yeah. But if you have, for example, just a VPN connection and you have this everything on your own network, you know what I mean? Then it's not a problem. But I'm getting you. Like I'm getting the point. So the VPN connection itself is not the thing what's making it secured. Hacker Gaming, how you doing, man?
This channel goes, and one of your most requested episodes was this.
Do you know, guys, that XQT is kind of expensive if you want to create your own apps or something? This is crazy. It's like, whoo. I don't know how expensive C# is. Oh, my brother had a bad day, like yesterday? Ah, interesting. But it seems like you really enjoyed it.
Episode on what to do about networking in C++. And the obvious first thing
it seems a lot of good content for you then, guys, right?
To consider is that ASIO does exist. Now, if you're not familiar with ASIO, this is the library that the networking TS for C++ was based on. So if you want something very close to what you would have gotten from the standard library, just use ASIO. It is available in both Boost and non-Boost versions, and it is available with Conan, Hunter, and VC package. Now, getting that out of the way.
The trust here is we put in certificate authority that is questionable, but at least is better than VPN provider.
And I'm not going to bother clicking on all of these, right? I'm going to walk through a lot of these things here. We have Qt. Many of you know it as Qt. It is correctly pronounced Qt. And this is a very large tool, right? Qt has everything. And part of everything is networking libraries. So if you're already using a framework like Qt, or by chance WX widgets.
Should I start to play a little bit around with W widgets?
Then you probably already have a cross-platform, high-level, capable networking library available to you.
By the way, Hacker Gaming, is he still playing or is he done for today?
Now, the next thing that I want to call your attention to is Poco. Poco's been around for a very long time, and that's a little bit more than just networking, but it is networking focused, and it is a well-proven cross-platform networking library. Now, from a kind of, quote, low-level perspective, we have ACE, and I've never used ACE, but I've seen people talk about it over the last couple of decades, so probably something that you should check out, and that is available in VC package right now. Now, next up is UVW, which is a wrapper around libuv. Now, I'm not familiar with libuv, but I know it is a very popular networking library toolkit for C.
Oh, wait a second. I think I used already libcurl already.
And so this is a relatively well-known wrapper around that. Now, I'm not going to go into each of these things. I'm going to focus on...
What's up? I have one question. Do you think C++ is going to die or something? You know, the thing is, it's... You still... I mean, you need it, right? If you will have in future less people that know this kind of language, I mean, everything is based on the language, correct? And it seems like the PC is getting like faster and faster, the computer's getting faster and faster and faster and faster. Therefore, we can do more and more abstraction, right? So we can build a language on top of a language on top of a language on top of a language. But I don't know if this is so efficient, you know what I mean?
The ones that seem to be the most popular. So that is a couple of low-level, if you will, networking libraries for C++. Libcurl wrappers, that's really its own category. Libcurl is hugely popular, and it is available for every programming language pretty much. And we've got a few wrappers for it. So of the libcurl wrappers, I want to focus on...
What is a wrapper? Can you describe me the word a little bit differently? Like, I don't know what a wrapper is.
CPR, which seems to be a very high-level, easy-to-use wrapper around libcurl, and it is intended to be like a C++ version of the excellent Python request library. And I'll leave this code sample up here real quick for you to look at. It looks like it's a pretty high-level thing if you are doing things with URLs. Okay, so if you're looking for like message passing kinds of things or remote procedure call, then we've got 0MQ, which has several different options for how to actually interact with it.
You should code more. The thing is sometimes, you know, if I'm here, right, I like to code sometimes like off stream, right, and learning new things on stream. Or coding off stream and recode it on stream and coming up with my questions so you can ask me, you know what I mean? I can ask you, sorry guys, not the other way around. So right now I'm just trying to, I just want to find a new project, you know, and I think I want to do this networking thing, but now I first have to, before I'm diving in, first I have to, get the feeling what I have to learn, because right now I don't know what I'm missing and I have to figure out what I have to learn, right? For doing this networking thing, you know, because I have no clue at all.
C++, so there is 4 different implementations here. Just go and check those out and see if any of them meet your needs if you're doing something like a message passing protocol. And gRPC, now I want to mention specifically this very not well-known library that someone recommended in the Twitter thread called ASIO gRPC. And this sounds very intriguing. It is an executor, networking TS, and standard execution interface to the gRPC completion queue for writing.
So you're using ASIO. So maybe I'm gonna just play a little bit around off stream with ASIO to get the feeling. And then I'm trying to do it on stream so that I'm able to make a connection. I'm gonna read about the topics, what you just said to me, right? Cryptographic, hash algorithms, symmetric encryption. Did you have maybe good sources for me? Like, for this kind of topics? This would be insane, because, you know, in C++ it's also like that you have a lot of bad source material. Should I get books? Should I mean, I can just go to my university and get the books for the for this kind of topics, you know. I mean, I could just also ask my professor, to be honest.
Asynchronous gRPC clients and servers using C++ 20 coroutines, boost coroutines, ASIO's stackless coroutines, callbacks, senders, receivers, and more. So if you are looking for a gRPC interface in this kind of coroutine, callback, sender, receiver, asynchronous world appeals to you, I suggest you go check this out. Now, if you are interested in WebSocket, HTTP kind of specific things, it looks like this WebSocket PP library is pretty well regarded as well. You can check that out. But then the next thing that I personally want to focus on is REST. There are several different REST libraries. Now, the CBP REST SDK had kind of become a de facto standard. I've seen this used in several different projects, but it has been officially put into maintenance mode and not officially maintained.
From school. Yeah, then you have already good sources, right?
Here. Now, I don't know why, given the popularity of this library. It's possible. I went looking, but I didn't find anything that of the 1.5 thousand forks of it, one of them is actively maintaining this library. I don't know. But if you're looking for an alternative that is actively maintained,
I have sometimes the feeling if you have the C++ stuff, right, you have not a lot of new stuff if you're comparing it to other languages. Is there a reason for that?
then it looks like Pistache or Pistachio, which has support with VC Package and Conan, 2.7 thousand stars.
I mean, if you sometimes, if I'm just checking, is there a library for that? And then you're seeing, okay, the library is 11 years old or something, right? And never touched again. Then you have something else, you're gonna look it up. Another topic, for example, looking for a library for this kind of topic, and then you're finding something, it's again like 14 years old or something, you know. If you're comparing that to other languages like Python, it seems like more new stuff, you know. Or is the community just more active?
On GitHub would be worth looking at. It says that it is a modern and elegant HTTP and REST framework for C++. So check that out if that seems interesting to you. And then I will just call attention to a couple of these other random things like REST-INIO.
But how I make then out of the HTTPS? How I'm gonna make out of this like a HTTPS? How I'm gonna make out of the HTTP an HTTPS? Because the principle is a little bit different. A little bit is good, right?
Is a REST API that is built entirely as a header-only thing on top of ASIO. So if you're already using ASIO, you need some sort of REST interface, then you could consider REST-INIO. All right, so there you have it. That's just a high-level survey of all of the best responses that I got when I asked the internet, what is your favorite C++ library for networking? And now, of course, that is a very big topic. Do you need TCP? Do you need UDP? Do you need DNS? Do you need high level? Do you need libcurl? Do you need WebSockets? Do you want even higher level with like remote procedure calls or message passing interfaces? All of these things are available as C++ libraries, many of them well regarded, many of them well maintained still. And
he's saying still, you know, even if that he's gonna say like still, but maybe soon not anymore.
And available in your package manager. So thanks for watching.
C++ is just slow at stuff to the standard library. It doesn't really matter much since there are a lot of C libraries. Yeah, this is also the thing. Why you then should like programming? You could write all the stuff what you have in C and C++ and getting some performance improvements. If you want to, I don't know, like just make it for C++ instead of C. But I get it that no one want to rewrite completely the library, right? It's the question if the people want to maintain the old code also. Probably this is also a problem. MMO client server ASIO framework basics. TCP client server application. 1 hour and 20. Holy moly. At least we have the CPP con. I mean, this is like a good plus, right? Yeah, I have to learn more about network.
Hello, and welcome to the first part of a series where I'm going to explore how we can implement networking in a C++ environment. I have briefly touched on networking before with my hacking a Logitech keyboard to display Twitch.
That one is good. Have you watched it? I mean, which one? This here, what I'm watching right now. Which one you mean? Try to learn about this protocol: IP, TCP, UDP, HTTP, TLS. I learned already something about HTTP, HTTPS. What's the difference there is? I don't know what TLS is. I have to learn about TCP and UDP probably. I learned something already about the protocols, right? And they are like protocols. Gonna save this. So I'm gonna learn about the other things also then.
Chat video, and in that video we introduced the idea of sockets. However, the problem with sockets is they're very platform dependent and they can be quite fiddly and tricky to work with. Instead, for this series I'm going to use a technology called ASIO, which stands for asynchronous.
I think I know also what sockets are.
Input-output. And specifically I'm going to be looking at how we can develop a framework which will allow us to support a server-client system. In the first part of this series, I'll be demonstrating some of the typical problems you encounter when you start adding networking to your applications. And I'll show how ASIO can reduce some of those problems. But on top of ASIO, we're going to need this custom framework, something very simple that we can add to future applications and allow us to have clients talking to servers or applications.
TLS, after you learn about those things I mentioned about before, TLS is secure layer. It uses quite a lot of encryption and stuff. Yeah, the thing is, yeah, okay, I got it. So I have to. So you want to say like HTTPS is like is then HTTP combined with TLS? The principle behind it? Oh, okay, then I know the principle behind it with this with the keys and stuff like that. HTTPS 2 we have also, right? That was a little bit more tricky, I remember. Yeah, I should relearn it. It was really interesting. So if I want to do it, for example, for C++, I have to first do the HTTP, and then I have to do also the TLS. Probably ASIO just provide me this kind of stuff, right? In-house. Is this correct?
Talking to applications very simply. Networking in C++ is traditionally seen as quite a tricky thing to do because there is no standard for it. But by adopting a library like ASIO, we can ensure that our programs will compile for different platforms. And it's my hope that the ASIO library will become part of the C++ standard in the future. However, the ASIO library itself is written in a reasonably modern C++ way, and therefore any framework we develop on top of it will also be written in a modern C++ way, particularly by the standards of this channel.
That seems it's like a problem in C++, right? That you have old libraries and no one want to maintain them. Try to do TCP first. The question what I have right now, we had like this VPN talk, right? So if I have with the VPN already a secured connection to my private network, then TCP is enough, correct? Because I'm not the connection have, Why you say no one? What do you mean it's no one? What I said wrong? Try not to talk about secure, you learn about security. Okay. But I can say if I have a secured connection, why you say no one want to maintain C++ code base? I mean like a old, for example, if you have old library or something, maybe you have not that many people that like interested to maintain their old library. Is this a case in the C++ universe?
But I don't want that to put you off if you're just at the beginning of your C++ learning journeys. As this is a multi-part series, I will be stepping through pretty much every line of code and explaining what's going on. So I think there's a lot of educational value to be derived from the building blocks as we create this framework. And so in part 1, we will be looking at how do we acquire and install ASIO. We'll be looking at some basic examples of using it in a non-asynchronous manner, and this will reveal why networking might have a bit of a tough reputation. It'll also reveal some of the problems that we need to solve as part of our framework. Then I'll describe the overall architecture of the framework I'm trying to develop. And then we'll start the development itself on some of the critical building blocks that we need. So let's get started on what
one thing quick, what's up? If I'm learning something new, I'm so hyped sometimes off stream just to program and try out things. And today is also a day like that, I just want to try out things off stream. And then, come back with the topic, rewrite it, for example, on stream.
what I hope is going to be an interesting journey.
To begin with,
that's not a problem in C++ ecosystem, at least for now. There's an estimate 5 million C++ programmer globally. Ah, okay. Crazy. But sometimes if you're searching for something like a good guide for networking, a good guide, if you compare it with other languages, it's hard to find good content sometimes in C++. Or am I wrong? Sometimes you're finding content, but the content is not good or wrong.
we're going to need ASIO itself, and you can download the ASIO files from think-async.com/ASIO. ASIO started life as part of the Boost framework, and if you don't...
So this is, but you have not a lot of these kind of people, they are good, I mean, CPPCon is also good, yeah, okay. Agree about that one, yeah. Probably it's also that you have this kind of standard libraries, if you're using Python and stuff like that. So this implementation is kind of easier compared to C++ because you have to build it up by your own from closer to the ground, right? If that makes sense.
No, Boost is a bit of a playground for C++ features, and many of those features eventually make their way into the standard. I can already hear the collective groans of people going, oh no, not Boost. Well, fortunately, ASIO has a non-Boost version, so we don't need the
Why people don't like Boost? Is there a reason for it?
entirety of Boost in order to use it. It can be used standalone. So to get it, we'll head over to the website and we'll, well, download it. Now the version at this time is ASIO 1.18. And in amongst all of these adverts, we can see Boost ASIO 1180.zip. That's the version I'm interested in. The zip file contains the folder, and the folder contains, well, just nothing really other than header files.
How big is Boost? 100 MB.
If we dip into the ASIO folder here, we can see everything is an HPP file. In fact, very rarely, if possibly anywhere in this directory, are there any CPP files at all. ASIO is an entirely header-based framework. And we're a fan of those on the One Lone Coder channel. To install ASIO, simply extract this folder into wherever you install your SDKs. And that's it. Because it's header-based, there are no libraries to link to or anything to build. Next, I'm going to start up Visual Studio and create an empty project. I'm going to create a new solution. We'll see throughout this series that I'll be adding several projects to this solution, but for now I'm going to create a simple example project and click Create. As you might expect, the empty project contains nothing, so we're going to add a source file to it. Add new item, and I will call it simpleexample.cpp. And I'm going to add the absolute minimum required for a bare bones project.
What I would like to show first is a very simple ASIO program where we'll connect to something on the internet and get some data. It will introduce how we get ASIO up and running, but it'll also demonstrate some of the problems that we're going to face as part of developing our framework.
Since we know we're going to use ASIO in this project, we need to link to the project.
Maybe I should learn what exactly a framework is, huh?
Where we've installed the ASIO header files. And in Visual
Because I'm not sure if I really know that. Where is it? Working template application. Sets of libraries or classes. That's what we have libraries, and then we have a set of libraries and classes. Okay, it makes sense. I got it. I remember I watched a YouTube video about that, what a framework is. I remember. But, yeah, okay.
Visual Studio, this is done by going to Project Properties, and I like to make sure that we've got all configurations and all platforms selected. Then when we go to the VC++ directories, we can look at where the include directories are and simply type in the path. On my computer, it's eDrive SDKs ASIO 1.18/include. Make sure this matches the path to where you installed it. On Linux, you can either install ASIO exactly the same way, or you can install it via the source repositories provided by your vendor. The core of ASIO is simply to include asio.hpp. Now ASIO is a vast library with lots of modules and components to it, and it doesn't only just handle networking, it can handle all sorts of interesting forms of input and output to your programs. But for this series I am specifically interested in it doing networking over the internet. And so I'm going to include two additional header files as part of the ASIO library, buffer, which will handle the movement of memory for us, and internet, which
why it's called a HPP, not .h. Is there a reason for it? Header file, like, is it like header file C++?
Prepares ASIO for all
Yeah, probably.
of the things we need to do network communication. Now, I mentioned before that ASIO came out of the Boost development framework, but we're not interested in using Boost, so we can tell this ASIO header file that it should be used as standalone. Now, on Windows, when we build it, we'll see that we typically get this little warning. Please define Win32 WinNT. This is very much a Windows-only problem, and it appears because each version of Windows has slightly different ways of handling networking. Your program will run just fine. It will default to something, but we can tell it specifically which version to use. So we'll try that compile again. Good.
Networking on the whole is a huge subject with lots of complexity to it. In this series, I'm not interested in the very low-level nature of it. I'm not going to be talking about how the TCP protocol works. I'm not going to be talking about subnet masks and routing and all of that stuff.
Yeah, maybe I should do this also off-stream, learning about this kind of topics. Ah, okay, good to know.
That's for some other time. What I am interested in doing
Probably will have soon no .hpp headers anymore, right?
is shifting data from one computer to another. And hopefully I'll demonstrate that you don't need to have a working knowledge of how networks work in order to achieve functional networking code.
And as such, it's likely that I'm going to be introducing some code which is going to be quite alien. But once this
But actually, I have to admit that C++ you have to learn a lot, right? That you can do something. If you compare, I don't know, if you compare it to other languages, you have to learn a little bit more in C, right? In C++, because it's so hardware related. Or am I wrong? And maybe this is also the reason why a lot of people not want to learn C++. I mean, it makes sense if you're in the embedded world that you're gonna learn C or C++. Okay, then it makes sense. But maybe then you're gonna say you would stay more to C in the beginning. I don't know.
simple example is finished, you'll see actually it's not so bad. One of the nice things about ASIO is it's very good at handling errors. And so I'll create a variable, ASIO error code EC, which we'll reuse to get, well, specific errors. Fundamentally, ASIO needs a space to perform stuff. And it does this via an object called an ASIO IO context. In a way, you can consider this as a unique instance of ASIO. And it's this.
You know, I watched this video before like 3 months ago, and I understood like nothing. And now I'm like, oh, it's so cool actually, C++. You could just look it up how they implemented that. This object, for example, I know error code is an object. I can check what is this object, how is this object defined, right? If I'm able to read it. So that's what I like in C++, but you need the skill, at least, that you're able to read it, how it is defined, you know? Did you code it? What I code? Sorry. What I asked? Forgot already about it. So yeah, today I have a little bit headache also. I have to drink maybe a little bit more.
This context that hides all of the platform-specific requirements. Next, we need to construct an address of something that we want to connect to. As the name implies, ASIO can connect many different types of input to output. It doesn't have to be networking. But all of these things that can be connected are referred to as endpoints. So here I've created specifically a TCP-style endpoint, which means...
Did you try to code from this video? No, not try to code from this video. I just watched it like 20-30 minutes and understood like nothing. Not nothing, but it was like really... it was just interesting how it would work, networking in C++. And, you know, I was not like that long into C++, but now, right now I'm just understanding a little bit more, right? I can just read the code. I know what's happening. I know kind of what the object is, you know. I'm getting a better feeling for the language itself, I would say. If that makes sense. You know, I would then also be interested to check up the object. How is the object, for example, defined or something? Actually, I like this in C++ that you can check up stuff.
The endpoint is defined by an IP address and a port. I'm using the make address function to turn this string version of an IP address into something that ASIO can understand. And I'll also pass in our error code variable just in case something goes wrong. If this IP address was
Makes so much sense
the
now.
error code value would have something in it to tell us it has become malformed. ASIO fully supports exceptions as a means of catching errors as well, and we will use some of those later, but for now we're just looking at a nice little variable instead. For our purposes, an endpoint is simply an address. The next thing to add is called a socket. In this case, I specifically want a networking socket. It is the hook into the operating system's network drivers, and will act as the doorway to the network that we're connected to. When I create the socket,
Actually, this video is so good. It's a good video.
I associate it with the ASIO context we created earlier. Now I'm going to instruct the socket to attempt to connect to the address that we specified. And here we can check the error code to see if it was successful. The error code variable is quite nice because you can interrogate.
Wait, you could do this a little bit differently. How it called? I always forget the name. If you do like question mark, double point, because then you not have to do like if else, correct? What? Doesn't matter. Fuck it.
What
It's actually the same.
at runtime to display it if
What do you mean no? Ternary, it has nothing to do with ternary. But you could make a ternary out of that, right? Or is ternary in this case not working? Why I could not make a ternary out of that? So I thought if you I thought I had like ternary would be like I have a logic, and if the case is true, we were gonna pick the first thing. Otherwise, we're gonna take the other thing, right? The other path. That means we would be able to do this also here, right? Or am I wrong? First, it would be confusing. Second is unreadable. I mean, it's still readable. I would just do it to you know. This case, this would work because Tutsi out would be on both sides of the, yeah. But in case the expression evaluates to void or different comment type, then ternary won't work. But I think you're also correct for readability. Readability, this is way better if you have it like this. I mean,
necessary. So if I run this program, it's going to attempt to connect to this IP address, which is the IP address of a website called example.com. Very basic websites like this communicate on port 80, HTTP. You've probably seen that before. Now I'm just going to add this at the end of my code. I know nobody likes this function, but it's very easy to make videos with it. And I'm going to run the program. And as we can see, connected. Press any key to continue. So ASIO successfully connected to that location. Let's send it to a location where I know there isn't a working port 80 to actually connect to. It's my own machine, and we'll run it again. We can wait. It took some time, but it returned no connection could be made because the target machine actively refused it. ASIO is very nice in this regard. Its error messages are descriptive and useful. We just observed something interesting. It took time to try and connect to my machine, and we'll see more of this later. If the connection was successful, then if I call the isOpen function on the socket, that should return true, which means I have an active and alive connection to, well, something at the other end, the other endpoint. Since I know I'm trying to connect to a website, the server at the other end is expecting an HTTP request. So I'm going to hack together a completely bare bones HTTP request. It looks like this. And if you weren't aware, yes, the internet works by sending literal text strings around the place. It's quite miraculous that we're still doing it that way. The details of this
Okay, that's cool.
string aren't actually that important for this series, as we won't be doing things this way, but for now it serves as a great example of how we're going to send some data to the server and see what it responds with. Once I've constructed this request, I'm going to send it. And I'm going to do that by calling the writeSum function.
TCP is on top of HTTP. Yeah, I'm just gonna watch, or I'm getting a book about TCP and HTTP. We can just drive to my university and get some good books to get the technique behind it. Because, you know, in the beginning of my C++ journey, I was always like, I know there are good YouTube videos, but if you not have the knowledge, you have not the skill to know if the YouTube video is good or not, right? I mean...
of the socket. Writesum means please try and send as much of this data as possible. When reading and writing data in ASIO, you work with ASIO buffers. And an ASIO buffer is really just a container that contains an array of bytes. In this case, I'm taking the bytes from my string and the size of my string to tell it how to dimension that array.
Really, we're doing it like this? This is interesting.
The bytes from my string, ASIO, you try and set columns with. Once I've constructed this request, I'm going to send it. And I'm going to do that by calling the writesum function of the socket. Writesum means please...
Wait, this is my request, what I have? Oh.
Please try and send...
Yeah, that's my get thingy. That's cool. Okay.
And as much of this data as possible. When reading and writing data in ASIO, you work with ASIO buffers. And an ASIO buffer is really just a container that contains an array of bytes. In this case, I'm taking the bytes from my string and the size of my string to tell it how to dimension that array. For each major transaction, we can also interrogate the error codes, although I'm not going to do that for every function, or else the code will become quite large. Once we've written some data to the server, I'm going to hope that it sends me something back. And I can see if there are any bytes available for me to read by calling the available function on the socket. If there are some bytes, then I'm going to read them from the socket. And I will read those into a new vector that I've created, which is sized to the amount of bytes that are available, and I'll call the equivalent readSum function, where again we're using an ASIO buffer to wrap the standard vector. I will then display to the console the contents of this buffer. So let's run it and see what happens. Oh, well, it connected, but it said there are 0 bytes available. Let's see why. I'm going to use the debugger to step through the code line by line. So I'll press Ctrl and F10 to run to this location. I'll construct the string. I'm now going to write some data, and now I'm going to check, are there any bytes of... Oh, well, hang on, it's a bit different this time. It's saying there's, well, 1,631 bytes available. It seems this time it's worked quite nice. Are there any string? So I'll press Ctrl and F10 to run to this location. I'll construct the string. Let's see why. I'm going to use the debugger to step through the code line by line. So I'll press Ctrl and F10 to run to this location. I'll construct the string. I'm now going to write some data, and now I'm going to check, are there any bytes of... Oh, well, hang on, it's a bit different this time. It's saying there's, well, 1,631 bytes available. It seems this time it's worked quite nicely. If I let the program run to completion, we can see
hey, why it's worked this time? Wait.
The socket. If there are some bytes, then I'm going to read them from the socket. And I will read those into a new vector that I've created, which is sized to the amount of bytes that are available, and I'll call the equivalent readSum function, where again we're using an ASIO buffer to wrap the standard vector. I will then display to the console the contents of this buffer. So let's run it and see what happens. Oh, well, it connected, but it said there are 0 bytes available. Let's see why. I'm going to use the debugger to step through the code line by line.
Can someone of you guys maybe explain me why the first time we got like no bytes and the second time with the debugger I thought he changed something, but it seems like he doesn't change anything. CPU is faster than the input output. Then the internet. Ah. So you have to delay it a little bit, right? Because we have to wait if the data is gonna arrive or not, right? I watched already a bigger YouTube video about how these protocols actually are working, because I checked out even like for streaming how the new streaming protocol is working. What, for example, YouTube is using for 4K streaming, because this provides you better quality. So actually, then you have to program some. Yeah, but then you have to program it a little bit differently, right? Because you have to check. You have to do something if data is available, right? Or you have to wait until data is available. Otherwise, you would just make the request or something, and you could end up with no data.
So I'll press Ctrl and F10 to run to this location. I'll construct the string. I'm now going to write some data, and now I'm going to check, are there any bytes of... Oh, well, hang on.
1 second. Is it normal that I find this topic is super interesting? I mean, it's like, oh, this is how internet is working, stuff like this, you know? With the protocols and stuff like that. This is so cool.
It's a bit different this time. It's saying there's, well, 1,631 bytes available. It seems this time it's worked quite nicely. If I let the program run to completion, we can see that the server has actually returned quite a bit of information. It's returned a bit of a header here to tell me it's accepted my HTTP request, and then it's returned the source code of the website that we connected to. So that all looks fine. What's the problem here? Well, the problem stems from, as soon as we wrote the request to the server, we immediately tried to read the response. But the server could be miles and miles away. It takes time for that request to go out, get processed, and return. So when I ran my program at full speed, when I wasn't debugging it, there wasn't enough time for the server to do any kind of response. I'm going to brute force in a delay to see if that helps things. After we have written the data, I'm going to deliberately stall this main thread for 200 milliseconds. This is horrific. If you're ever putting hard-coded delays in your program to make it work, you need to think again. But let's see if it does work. Well, it did.
But I remember there was like another method for that, right? No sleep.
200 milliseconds look like adequate time for the request to go out, get processed, and the server to respond with data. This is really bad and really inconvenient for us. I don't want my program waiting 200 milliseconds every time I do any kind of network transaction. Fortunately, ASIO does have some tricks up its sleeve to help. So one of the things I can do is tell it to wait, which will block my running program until there is some data available to read. So let's take a look at
1 second. Oh, no.
Machine. I'm going to use the debugger to step out, well, a lot more information coming through. But worryingly, it looks like we didn't get all of the info. It's horrific. If you're ever putting, it's going to deliver more data.
No.
To having.
We're starting to see two really...
It's going to deliver more data. And run it again. Processed, and is horrific. If you're ever putting hard-coded delays in your...
If you're gonna go for the wait, how is the wait is actually working? Do you have a loop that it's just checking every time if something is happening? Most applications won't use this blocking interface. Network should be asynchronous. How called asynchronous? Asynchronous? Oh. The wrong. Okay.
Asynchronous.
Asynchronous is the word.
Your program to make it work, you need to think again. But let's see if it does work. Well, it did. 200 milliseconds looked like adequate time for the request to go out, get processed, and the server to respond with data. This is really bad and really inconvenient for us. I don't want my program waiting 200 milliseconds every time I do any kind of network transaction. Fortunately, ASIO does have some tricks up its sleeve to help. So one of the things I can do is tell it to wait, which will block my running program until there is...
What's up? I have one question. How long it will take for me that I can provide value? You read. I mean, if I'm writing more code. Most of the I can show it on the laptop. The last time, like more what we did, like bitwise shifts stuff we did, that was really interesting because I had to do it for my exams, right? That's why I not write that much. Actually, I write code for my exams, right? The thing is why I not write for the current topics that much. It was because of my exams. I have to prepare for my exams, you know. There was like bitwise right shift, left shift, and all the stuff, quick sort, insertion sort, bubble sort, merge sort, all this stuff we did. I wrote it by my own several times. A lot of times, to be honest. Yeah. That was like the last month, I could say.
Some data available to read. So let's take a look at that. Well, good. That's worked this time. I'm going to change the IP address to a website that's good. That's data available to read. So let's take a look at that. Well, good. That's worked this time. I'm going to change the IP address to a website that's going to deliver more data and run it again. Well, this time we can see we got, well, a lot more information coming through. But worryingly, it looks like we didn't get all of the information this time. Let's just try running that again. This time, it stopped at a different point, right in the middle of some code. Because of the time delays of the transport and the servers, varying amounts of bytes might be available for us to read at any one time. And since all we're doing is saying, well, are there any bytes to read, then just try and read them.
Actually, I want to do even like quick sort again. Because I had like my someone helped me with that. Was it you? I don't know. With the who was it? It was you, right? With my quicksort implementation and with the iterator solution in the end. Or who was it? Right, I'm gonna check. I don't know. I don't remember.
We're not getting everything.
We're starting to see two really significant problems with networking. Firstly, we don't know when things are going to happen. As soon as it leaves our computer, it's beyond our control. Things take time. Secondly, and partly related to part one, we don't know how much the server is going to respond with. We don't know how much data to prepare in advance. What size should we make our buffers? I simply don't know.
And also putting things like waits and blocking statements in our code is a really bad thing to do. It seems very wasteful. Well, this is where we can start to exploit the asynchronous side of ASIO. What I would like to do is prime ASIO with an instruction that says, well, if some data arrives, read it and display it to the console. Since I don't know how large that data might be at any one time, I'm going to create a reasonably large buffer and just reuse it. I'm creating this outside of the scope of my main program because I'm also going to add in a function which will link to ASIO to handle the data reading for us. And I'm going to data might be at any display it to the console. Since I don't know how large that data might be at any one time, I'm going to create a reasonably large buffer and just reuse it. I'm creating this outside of the scope of my main program because I'm also going to add in a function which will link to ASIO to handle the data reading for us. And I'm going to call that function grabSomeData, and we pass in the socket. Previously, when we were using ASIO in synchronous mode, we called the readSome function. Now I want to use it asynchronously, so I'm going to call the equivalent async readSome function. This takes in the buffer just as before, but we also need to give it a lambda function. When we call the grabSomeData function, that in turn calls the async readSome function. And because it's asynchronous, this isn't going to do anything right away. Instead, what it will do is prime the context with some work to do when data is available on that socket to read. And the work we're going to give it is simply reading the data from the socket and putting it in our buffer and displaying it on the screen. So I'll add in the lambda function here. The prototype of the lambda function will tell us the error code and the amount.
I have to learn lambda function. Oh yeah, I have to learn it. I don't know what lambda is doing.
Of data. The
Topic what I'm
prototype of
missing.
the lambda function will tell us the error code and the amount of data that was read by the
Maybe you guys can explain me quick what lambda is doing in C++?
readSome function. If there was no error code, then that was prototyper and displaying it on the screen. So I'll add in the lambda function here. The prototype of the lambda function will tell us the error code and the amount of data that was read by the readSome function. If there was no error code, then I'm going to display how many bytes were actually read that time, and then just loop through my buffer, displaying those bytes to the console. I'm then going to call the grabSomeData function again, and you might think that this is some recursive nightmare, but it isn't. Recall that the async readSome function will prime the ASIO context with some work to do, and then immediately return. i.e.
That's so cool, because if you have this kind of knowledge, you could also implement like other protocols if you want to, or try out other protocols. I really like it. I really like it. It's cool.
ASIO is going to run in the background. When some data arrives on that socket, it's going to implement the code we've put in this lambda function. If in this first instance it only reads 100 bytes, but the server has sent 10,000, the grabSomeData function will call the async read function again, and it will grab a bit more, which will then go and grab a bit more until there is no data left to read. And at that point, the async read function will simply wait until there is some data to read. So after we've written our request to the server, I'm no longer interested in reading it manually. Instead, I'm going to call our grabSomeData function. Let's take a look. Well, we've not been very successful here either. It's connected, but then immediately exited. The reason for this is similar to the first time that happened. We called the grabSomeData function straight after issuing the request. This grabSomeData function would have then primed the I/O context to read something asynchronously. But the problem is, our program finished before anything could happen. And this is where starting to think asynchronously can be a little tricky. Instead, I'm going to prime the ASIO context with the ability to read bytes before I send some data. And to stop my program
I have several questions. So if you have this kind of so first question what I have, if you have this recursion and it's not receiving any data, we could end up that the stack would be full, right? After some time, or am I wrong? Because the function is always, if there is no data available, calling itself. Or am I wrong? The other question is, what is the difference if I'm putting it on top? Not going for the request. This is a little bit tricky though. Sending the request, but how I can send the request if the recursion will happen before? Let me think in the stack. So you keep calling. It's opened. Yeah, it's the same. Ha. Is it not a recursion if you are just calling the grab some data socket? Or am I wrong? Here, that's a recursion. Grab some data. Am I wrong? It's not a recursion in the traditional sense, but it's calling itself always again, right? Yeah, I'm not understanding what the lambda thing is doing. I don't know what a lambda is. I ask you, what is a lambda? Because I've not had this topic before. So what is lambda doing? Maybe someone, I know I have to learn it, but maybe someone can just explain it that I can understand this topic. Why this is input, output context, store the lambda in a queue. I don't know what a lambda is. When there is data available, it's called a lambda. So it means we have this statement, stood array code EC blah blah blah, and this like is only getting called, if I'm understanding correctly, if data is available. So lambda is just putting something in the queue or what? Line 19 to line 30 is the lambda. Okay. Yeah, the topic what I have to... Maybe we're gonna do lambdas tomorrow, I don't know, on stream.
Read something asynchronously. But the problem is, our program finished before anything could happen. And this is where starting to think asynchronously can be a little tricky. Instead, I'm going to prime.
Async read some put the lambda in Azure internal task queue. No clue, man. Really. This is lack of knowledge here.
The ASIO context with the ability to read bytes before I send some data. And to stop my program exiting prematurely, I'm also going to put in just a big delay. Let's consider for a moment what we're expecting of the context. We're now lodging with it instructions with which the context has to wait for certain conditions, and then it will execute code associated with those instructions. That waiting part is quite interesting. How does it do that? We've seen already today that when we want to wait for something, it invariably blocks. And we don't want the I/O context blocking all the time. One of the things we can do with ASIO is run the context in its own thread. This gives the context some temporal space within which it can execute these instructions without blocking our main program. Here I create a thread of a lambda function, and all that lambda function does is call the run function of the context. This run function...
I'm out. Sorry guys, I'm out. Now this is mega kill, ultra kill. Now, it's like, okay, I missed some knowledge. The lambda, okay. And now, okay, let's go for threads and ooh, more and more magic. Oh man, oh no. Damn it, yeah, I have to know how lambdas are working. It makes no sense to keep watching this topic if I'm not understanding. I have to do threads, I have to do lambda to do this topic. I mean, yeah. Probably threads I don't have to do, but lambda at least I should learn lambda.
Will return as soon as the context has run out of things to do, i.e. there's no instructions registered with it for it to do in the future. Therefore, it is likely by the time that our program has gotten to the line where it starts registering instructions with
Boys! Come on!
the context, that the context has finished executing. Fortunately, ASIO gives us a way to deal with this too.
We're gonna do lambdas quick. I want to know what is lambda doing. Let's see how big the topic is. Maybe it's really small, right? Lambda, where is it? Lambda captures introducing to lambda anonymous functions. Okay, here we go. Should I do the first thing? Yep. Capture, learn C++. How long? Oh my god. Is it that big, the topic? Wait, what is before? Let me check. Oh, this is before, right? Let's go for lambda here. Asynchronous is hard. Yeah, I see it's hard. Wow, nice. Threads, everything. Let's go. Oh man, it's like C++ is like an end boss, Sometimes it's, sometimes you have the feeling, okay, now you are there and stuff is getting easier, right? And then you're facing another wall, right? Where you have to put your head against the wall again and again and again. Yeah, it seems like it's why I'd like the feeling, oh, okay, easy. I understanding that. Oh, that's easy. Make absolutely sense. Yeah. And then you have like one topic and it's changing everything. It's pretty nice. Programming is so much fun. Okay, let's go. Introducing the lambdas. Anonymous functions. Consider a snippet of code that introduced in lesson 18.3, introducing the standard library algorithms. So our function will return the true. Our function will return true if the element matches. Okay, we have the bool, blah 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 blah. Std string view. Oh, let's go. Find return std string view. Oh, I know this. I have this before. That means something like this if the statement was true, right? Oh wait, I forgot about this. What does endpost do again? Come on, brain. If it doesn't find, exactly. If it doesn't find the substring, otherwise it returns the index where the substring occurs in str. So we have return str.find, then we have the nut, and then std string view. I have to check it. CPP reference. So here we go. So this is a special value equal to the maximum value representable by the type size type. When am I gonna use size type again? The class, fuck it, I will do it later. The exact meaning depends on the context. Yeah, nice, I really like it, but it's generally used either as an end of string indicator by the function that expects a string index or as the array indicator by the function that returns the string index. Okay, again. The content can be, so it's trying to use either as an end of a string indicator by the function that expect a string index, or as the array indicator by the function that returns the string index. Although the definition uses -1. Size type is an unsigned integer type. And the value of the NPOS is largest positive value it can hold. The signed to unsigned implicit conversion. This is portable way to specify the largest value of any unsigned type. So we're gonna find this A, and then we have this statement s.npos. No, okay. So we string search function return npos if nothing is found. When npos is -1 or what? What does npos means? -1. Okay. Okay. It's a little bit magic, to be honest. But I got it. I let it in my body. In this case of find, it returns an index. And it'll use npos as a special value to indicate it couldn't find this thing you want. But how is this working under the hood? If you get my point here. I mean, you have this, okay. So it's more like I have this s.find a. This is returning something. And what it's returning is the same than s.npos, correct? And then it knows no a in test. And that's also the reason why s.npos can be different by the function itself, probably because can npos be overloaded? npos is static member constant value with the greatest possible value of 4 element of type size t. This value, when used as a value of a length or sublength parameter in string member function, means until the end of the string. I mean, it's just defined then for the scenario, for the string, or for something else, right? As a return value, it is usually used to indicate no matches. This constant is defined with a value of -1, which, because size t is an unsigned integral type, it is the largest possible representable value for this type. Huh? Wait, code is not working, right? But I want to understand it. How is this working and post? Okay, I have to put it on the list here. So we have cryptography, hash algorithm, symmetric encryption, asymmetric encryption, key exchange algorithm, certificate, authority. Then we have IP, TCP, UDP, HTTP, TLS, and now I'm gonna add NPUS. Right. By the way, hello, Rotchak Education. How you doing? So you shouldn't care. Trust me. So you mean it is a really dark hole, right? It's a black hole. The topic. Don't tell me. Okay, we keep going. So we wanna do the topic quick. It was this, right? Introducing into Lambda and anonymous functions. So we have stood string view. It's not a dark hole. It's simple. It is simple, but you seems to be focused too much on it. Okay. I mean, I think this is correct here. This constant blah blah is it. It's as a return value. It is usually used to indicate no matches, right? So if I have no match, if I'm doing like equal and pos, then I know, okay, we have no match. Okay, good to know. I mean, I can just look it up. How it is defined, right? So let's keep going. Then we have that. What is your Twitch ID? I can show you. It's like this one. So wir haben const expert. Scan our array to see if any elements contain the nut substring. Auto found stood find if. Okay, and okay, let's see. This code searches through an array of strings looking for the first element that contains the substring nut. Those. This word is man. This is right. I have to organize a little bit here. It's too much. Right, I have to close this, and then should work here.
Thus.
Okay, thus. It's produced the result found walnut. Okay. Yep. Auto found stood find if. That's cool that we have something like this. And then we have the array.begin, array.end, and then we contains nut. Where's the contains nut? Where's this is defined? It's this here, right? And then we have string view str, and then return str.find, and then we have this now. Okay. So, and while it works, it could be improved. The root of the issue there is that stood find if requires that we pass it a function pointer. Because of that, we are forced to define a function that only going to be used once. That must be given a name, and that must be put in the global scope. Scope, because function can't be nested. The function is also so short, it almost easier to discern, or what is the name? Wow, I think this topic is not even easy, man.
Discern.
Discern what it does from the one line of code, then from the name and comments. Lambdas are anonymous functions. A lambda expression, also called a lambda or closure. Is it called closure, guys? Oh, I'm getting more and more headaches, guys, today.
Closure.
allow us to define an anomalous function inside another function. Okay. The nesting is important. Don't tell me that we have something like this. Oh, no. As it allows us both to avoid namespace naming pollution and to define the function as close to where it is used as possible, providing additional context. The syntax for lambdas is one of the weirder things in C++. Oh yeah, yippee-yay! And takes a bit of getting used to. Ha 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 ha. Lambdas takes the form. Hey, C++ always, sometimes I'm just getting the feeling maybe it would be better just to stay on C. I'm understanding the people that just saying, okay, it's cool to stay on C. I'm getting it. Ja, komm, wir sagen mal Hallo. Nee, sag. Okay, ich stelle mich drauf ein, Schnucki. Dankeschön. Okay, the syntax for lambdas is one of the weird things in C++ and takes a bit of getting used to. Lambdas take the form capture, clause, parameters, return type, statement. What does clause mean? Yeah, keep reading, maybe stuff getting more clear. Oh. The capture clause can be empty if no capture are needed. The parameter list can be empty if no parameter are required. It's the same then with the function, right? It can also be omitted entirely unless a return type is specified. The return type is optional, and if omitted, auto will be assumed, thus using type deduction used to determine the return type. While we previously noted that type deduction for function return types should be avoided, in this context, it's fine to use O9. Because these functions are typically so trivial. Hey, what's up? Dino, how you doing? I had the great idea to start the topic networking in C++. Oh, yippee-yay. And it seems it's a nice rabbit hole. Also know that lambdas, being anonymous, have no name, so we don't need to provide one. And right now I'm just trying to understand what lambdas are doing. Because we just crossed the thing with asynchronous. Async. If something is async. Async. Right, it's called async. Sorry, guys. It's not that lambdas being anonymous have no name, so we don't need to provide one. They don't even need a name then. Can I ask a question? Yeah, of course. I am 17 and I just completed C++ and Python. And I really confused between C# and JavaScript. Which one you recommend me? I want to make antivirus. So you completed C++ and Python. How many years you did C++? I mean, if you completed C++, maybe I'm not to be honest, not the right person to ask me. Maybe then you should ask someone here in chat. What's up? Are you still there? Capture clause? What do you mean with capture clause? There's a guy, he's asking, I am 17 years old and I just completed C++ and Python and I'm really confused between C# and JavaScript. Which one you recommend recommend me, I want to make an antivirus or antivirus. So the question is a little bit confusing me even. I even thought like, yeah, C++, right? I mean, you could use also C# for it probably. But JavaScript? I mean, if you're already good in C++, why then stay there, right? And doing the antivirus stuff. I thought also like C++ is used many times in security. Or am I wrong? Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Okay. So here, Dino, you have your advice. Rust. Yeah, but Rust you have to learn also again, right? Klaus.
Clause.
It's called Klaus, okay. This means trivial. I'm gonna check it. My brain is like...
Trivial.
Trivial. Lambda definition looks like this. So we have a main, a lambda within an omitted return type, no capture, and omitted parameters. So we it not needs a name, right? But for what I need the lambda? Let's rewrite the above example using a lambda thingy, okay? No capture clause. Let me compare that. One question. Why is this better than this here? So it's like for performance reason, right? So I'm getting it. It's not. Will that statement be later global or not? This works fine. It's just like the function pointer case and produced the identical result. Found walnut. Note how similar our lambda is to our contains nut function. They both have identical parameters and function bodies. The lambda has no capture clause. What is a capture clause? We will explain what a capture clause is in the next lesson. Ah, toll. What the fuck? Because it doesn't need one. Wait, a function, but the lambda has no capture clause. We will explain what a capture clause is in the next lesson because it doesn't need one. And we have omitted the trailing return type in the lambda or conciseness, but since operator returns a bool, our lambda will return a bool too. Okay. Best practice. Following the best practice of defining things in the small scope and closest to first use. Lambdas are preferred over normal function when we need a trivial one-off function to pass as an argument to some other function. Oh god. Someone said last time this topic is easy. Yeah, we're gonna CPP inside IO. CPP weekly on lambdas. Yeah, it is easy. Let's go. We're gonna read this. Where is it? Watch it, sorry. Here we go.
Hello and welcome to C++ Weekly. I'm your host, Jason Turner. I am available for quiz, contracting, and on-site training. I have given many episodes here on C++ Weekly that talk about lambdas. And in this episode, I would like to take a little bit of a step back and actually describe what a lambda is so that those episodes effectively make more sense. And so you could watch this one first and then go back and watch the previous ones. So to reason about this, I am going to demonstrate a lambda and then I'm going to show the equivalent version if I were to create my own thing that the compiler is doing for me. So this is our classic return 5 lambda, and I've done things like this a million.
Watch, 1 second, here's a problem. Give me a second, quick. So wait, is the Twitch stream laggy? Let me check. It is, right? Perfect. Give me a few seconds, I have to fix it. Trying to fix on the stream. Yeah, okay, should work again, right? Okay, perfect. Okay. Yep, it's working. What broke? Internet provider. Actually, I called so many times the internet provider already. And the interesting thing about this, after some tech guys were here, they just sent me over a description. What should I do? And it has nothing to do with the internet. It is just how to improve your WLAN signal, right? And I was like, I'm not using WLAN, right? So, yeah. It's just a little bit fucked up. It is what it is. I can't change it. I hope that I can. Sounds normal, yeah. It's insane, actually. And stuff like this is most of the time happening at night and like in the evening or something. Why? A lot of people coming online, right? They have to have too many people using in the same time the internet because they have too many people that connecting to the thingy there. So that's a common known problem by Vodafone, by the way. And now we can watch the video again. Likely too many online their connection. Yep. Yeah, actually I watched a YouTube video about this topic. It seems like if you have normal what is called DSL in Germany, you know, then it's not a problem. But if you're using like the thing what you normally would use for TV, it's a little bit different. Because they can just put more people on this thingy, I don't know how it's called, than usual. But the problem is if everyone is coming online, right? And then they are not able to maintain the quality. No, I'm not using satellite. I'm using how it's called the TV cable. It's not fiber. It's the TV cable in Germany, you know. I mean, I can draw it, right? It's something, I don't know. Do you have something? I watched a video about this. This was like something, if you're using normal DSL, if you're using normal internet, right? You have like a box, and if you have like a house or something, right? Let's do it. Nice house, right? So this is the house, right? And then the distance to the box and to the internet, right? With the cable. If you're using normal DSL, a DSL connection, it's not allowed that it's too far away. But I don't know how the box is called, you know. But if you're using like the TV cable stuff, what I'm doing in Germany, the distance, it's allowed that the distance is more far away. And they can connect more households on this box thingy, right? How it called? I think it's something like how it called? Contributor terminal block. It's not a splitter, right? Is it a divider? I don't know. Divider could it be, right? Divider sounds better, I would say. Yeah. And then they're saying always to me like, I did check the modem, everything is fine. And I'm checking the modem, and you can literally check the signal in the modem and see there is some packet lost, right? You can see it. And they're telling me and lying to me everything is fine. And actually it is not. Because you can check it in the modem. Or in the router, right? It's nowadays like kind of the same. Okay, let's keep going.
Times in previous episodes, but I'm returning 5. I am calling the lambda here, and we can see that 5 is being returned. What is a lambda exactly? We can attempt to ask the compiler about this with something like this. We can say, what is the name of this thing? And we can see the mangled name here is Z4 main E3 $_0. So this is a new type that was created for us. I am version if I were to create my own thing that the compiler is doing for me. So this is our classic return 5 lambda, and I've done things like this a million times in previous episodes, but I'm returning 5. I am calling the lambda here, and we can see that 5 is being returned. What is a lambda exactly? We can attempt to ask the compiler about this with something like this. We can say, what is the name of this thing? And we can see the mangled name here is Z4 main E3 $_0. So this is a new type that was created for us, that the compiler created for us with some name that we're not allowed to know. It is an unknowable name. It is, though, something that we can reason about, and it's something like this. Some sort of struct that is the 0th lambda that was created inside of main. Now, I started with this double underscore here, and that is because this is the kind of thing that the compiler does. The compiler has reserved for itself identifiers that start with an underscore, and so it is going to take advantage of that. It knows that it can create this name that legally our code is not allowed to conflict with. We're not allowed to define our own identifiers that start with an underscore, so this is the kind of thing that the compiler would do. Now, lamb does use auto return type deduction, and they have an operator paren defined, and by default, this operator paren is const. So this lambda is the logical equivalent to the one that we have defined right here. Now,
Well, so I'm still not getting the point why we should use the lambda compared to the other thingy, because if what kind of benefit we getting out of that? I mean, it will still be global, correct? We're still gonna allocate memory for it, or am I wrong? Did we have here an expert? Do we have an expert? Because if I have a struct, I'm gonna allocate memory. So why I should use then a lambda if I can just define the function?
Now, if we give this lambda a parameter,
No, declare a struct doesn't allocate memory. Okay, so if you declare a struct and have, for example, integer inside the struct, so in the struct something getting initialized, we're gonna allocate something, correct? So you mean if we not initialize something in the struct, we're not gonna allocate memory. A non-capture lambda is just a struct with an overloaded operator. If we have a function, if you have a function comparing, are we gonna allocate something? Now I'm a little bit confused. I just want to see the benefits if I just have my lambda versus my function.
like this, it is the same as if we had created a parameter here to our lambda.
Instance of a class that is empty, no non-static data members usually take 1 byte because object need address. So we not have this case with this lambda thing or what? So we not need this 1 byte. Because there's a zero-based optimization, we have always optimization, I know. Just the optimization away, right? But why with the overload? Why we not getting like... Yeah, probably gonna allocate something, or am I wrong? I mean, we could test it, right? The compiler is smart enough and you can't get address of lambda. Huh?
Lambda, and we do something like this here. And we need to make sure that we call our lambda with a value, so now we should be getting 8 returned from main. This is const. I mentioned this. It is, as far as I know, the only thing in the standard that is by default const. So this has an important implication. If we add a capture, and again, I'm going to give it this double underscore name, something like this, and we are to create our own local value here and assign it to 10, and then we're capturing this val. And we want to add this val to the summation, and we can add our val to the summation here. Actually, I should get rid of this double underscore to keep the equivalence the same. So something like this. Now, in this case, we now have to think about the construction of our lambda. So this auto L here on line 15 is kind of like doing this. So we are initializing our val with whatever the local value is. Now, if we wanted to mutate this val here, we can't. We can't, and it is obvious because our call operator is const. So with a lambda, we need to actually add the mutable keyword here. And what mutable accomplishes is actually removing the const keyword from our operator paren. And similarly to this, if we were to make...
Oh God! Guys, when this is gonna end? So a non-captured lambda object would take 0 bytes. So you're getting the benefit if you have a so you said instead of class.empty, no non-static data member, you should take 1 bytes because object need address. And if you said just then, so in comparison, so a non-captured lambda object would take 0 bytes. And that's why you're doing the lambda thing to save the 1 byte or what? But you said that...
this parameter I, auto, this has now become a generic lambda, and we need to create our equivalent thing to have a template. So by creating a generic lambda, we have implicitly created a template function. There's lots of shorthand going on here in lambdas and the kinds of things that it creates for us. And there is one key thing that I have left out. As of C++ 17, this operator paren is automatically const_expr if it can be. So it's automatic return type deduction, automatically const_expr, and const by default, which is an awful lot of the things that we want in our regular C++ code, plus it gives us a shorthand for creating templates. So that in a nutshell is effectively what a lambda is. And since this is just a type that we can reason about, this is why we can do things like inherit from lambdas. And I'm going to talk more about inheriting from lambdas actually in the next episode, even though this...
Es nimmt kein Ende. Es nimmt kein Ende. Es wird immer besser, Leute. Es wird immer besser. Oh ja, geil. Richtig geil. Ach, scheiße, Alter. Ohne Mist. I'm getting goosebump. I can show you. Here. You see, I'm getting goosebump from this fucking shit. Insane. This is so insane. Yeah, of course you can inherit. Makes sense. You can do everything. Feel free. I mean, it's good, right? It's it.
This seems like something that I've really talked about a lot. I want to refine the concepts that we've talked about in the past.
And of course,
You know how C++ is? C++ is like chess, but you have like thousands of move patterns. You need to write.
always
Even if I'm writing more, man, you can't know everything of these things. It depends what you're writing also, right? If you're writing more hardware related code, if you're writing more like network code, if you're writing, I don't know.
remember to use the tools that are out
But it makes no sense. I'm not understanding still what lambdas is, right? What is the benefit of when I should use lambdas, when I should use function? I could just learn that, but I would not understand it. Why is it? Why should use it, you know?
there. We can see here that if we use CPP Insights website and put in this example and tell it to show us the equivalence here, we get something very similar to what I demonstrated. Now, this version stamped out exactly one version of the call operator instead of making a template for us, which is effectively what the compiler would have done because we've called it with only exactly one type. So it made it an int version here, but effectively the compiler did have to make a templated version, and it created a constructor for us, which I'm not sure if that was necessarily required or not, but we have basically the same thing created here. So be sure to use CPP Insights, play with this, and learn what your compiler is actually doing for you under the hoods, and gain a better understanding as to what is going on. So thanks for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe and give this a like, and I hope this explanation was clear and useful to you.
Okay, I think we're gonna call it for today. I gonna relearn these topics that I can next time know probably about IP, TCP, UDP, HTTP, and TLS, and redoing quick npos again, and then the lambda thing, right? I don't know if I'm able to understand the lambda thing the next time, but lambdas are like kind of objects, right? But it's like, yeah, I have to rewatch it, and then I'm going into the topic and probably do some programming and network programming to the point where we are at the moment, and you know, to this 19-minute thing that I'm just gonna practice a little bit more. And yeah, I think that's it for today. Thanks a lot for helping me, and I wish you a nice evening, and see you next time. I'm out.